Recording. All right. So you got Morgan and Erin coming to you hot and or cold, depending on where you are from. We've got hot over here in Miami, cold over there, or wherever Erin is on your screen.
In Chicago.
Chi-town.
Not that bad today. It was actually pretty decent. Like 68 degrees. So I'm fine with that. I like the fall and the spring. It's winter. I could just do like 3 weeks of and be like, okay.
No. So for anyone who is following us already, we are on episode number 3. So don't forget to check out episodes 1 and 2. We are talking a lot about avatars, and basically it's the different versions of us that show up that either help us get where we want to go or get in our own way. And so if we start to really divide our different versions of us and we get to observe them, then we get to observe them versus participate, and we get to consciously create who we have in the game of life instead of, you know, the ones that we've already talked about before were like the Comfy Slob avatar that almost everyone has, the Perfectionista or Perfectionisto, the Victima or Victimo, the Saboteuress or Saboteuro, right? So it's like we all have these different versions of ourselves that we are giving you new ways to look at so you can reframe them, be conscious of them, and decide who do I actually want in the game. And today we are going to be talking about high vibe avatars, which I'm so excited about because I feel like we consciously look at our low vibe ones first because those are ones that are jacking it up. And then we get to go, okay, now what do I want to create? So it's like, okay, great. I know all these things I'm doing. It's like the levels of consciousness, or competence rather. It's like unconscious incompetence, which means, like my pre-awakening, it was just like, I was like a sloppy drunk and not aware of it. So I was a very blissfully ignorant. I don't know that I'd call myself blissfully at that point, but I was an ignorant. Occasionally
at some points in the night.
Yeah. I was going to say always with you, but I'm sure there were many times where there were a couple times where, I think with you, I got so blackout drunk, I was not very nice. Another reason why I decided to quit. Why the hell would I want to not be nice to my bestie? That's not cool. So
for the most part, we had drunken debauchery together. Only very few times were you ever actually mean to me.
Yes, and so I'm sorry again for those. No bueno. That's my avatar that I affectionately refer to in the book as Spicy McChicken, who she's been coming out a lot today, but she has a lot of really beautiful things to. Mm-hmm. She's my clue that I need to stop, pause, and give back to me. And mm-hmm. I had a spicy meltdown today, Spicy McChicken meltdown today. So after you and I get off, I am channeling my glow ghee, which we're going to talk about in a minute, to do some yoga, because Spicy usually comes up when she's like, hey, I need a break. I need to give me some time off. It means I've been working too much. So we can really leverage our low vibe avatars to help tell us what's going on and what we actually need. So I've learned how to use Comfy Slob to identify, like there's some productivity opportunities here, opportunity to like give her the show for a night and let her have a movie night, and
right.
Spicy McChicken, who's my emotional home of anger, she needs to be loved. And so the worst thing that I could possibly do is chastise myself when I'm being her, because she already doesn't think she's enough as it is. Mm-hmm. So to yell at her is super opposing of, what is beneficial. So I'm going to self-love. So we'll jump into that in a minute. For anyone who this is maybe is your first episode and you're going to go back and you're going to watch 1 and 2, I'll go ahead and introduce myself, and then I'll let Erin introduce herself, and then we will just jump into our impromptu soul jamming around this. So just want to let you know, so I am Morgan Field. I am the founder of the international empowerment brand Epic Sexy You, which is in 18 countries and counting. I have an Amazon bestseller. also titled Epic Sexy You, that is all about really helping you create a life that you positively love, that is chock full of a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, as well as just giving you new ideas of, and new paradigms and new perspectives of, and new lenses of how you can create a version of you that you love being, what's getting in your way, how to get out of your own way, and how to actually create things that excite and delight you. I am a life coach, so I work with people one-on-one. Erin and I recently just decided to do Beachbody coaching because it's amazing, and we did it as just like our own side thing initially, like for ourselves, and like transformed our bodies, gave us some muscles, and our abs are rocking and stuff. So we're doing that together. Piece of why we're together on this journey is we're going to inspire the world together to get in bodies you love being in. It's also totally aligned with Epic Sexy You, the sexy pillar of the brand. And so a lot of what we talk about in these things, in these episodes, are about the psychology of sexy, right? The mind, how do you get your mind to get into the vibe of sexy so you get your body moving? And this stuff we're talking about applies to your mind, it applies to your body, it applies to everything. So even though we may do a lot of examples where we talk about, how to get yourself to create the dream body, it's also the dream life. How you do one thing is how you do everything, which apparently was triggering Erin this week, which she'll tell us about in a minute.
Dude, hard.
Also, I'm an intuitive, so I get visions and messages and talk to spirit and all that really fun stuff. So all these like really soulfully yummy things that I consciously download, and I'm on a mission to inspire the world to get busy living, like actually redefining what it means to live, not just to survive. So we're about thriving. I'm sure there are more things, but that's just what I'm gonna roll with. Erin, why don't you take it away? Tell us a little bit about you, and apparently what's the new things? We had wind patterns. Erin was telling us about how she likes wind patterns. And then today you said something else. What were you?
I spent my train ride in, I was at a conference at work this week. So I spent my train ride in reading about the various train signals on different railways and what they mean, and different intersections. And, I like to be informed. I want to know what the signals mean, what trains come in, what's going where. I mean, intermodal transportation, it's one of the, locomotive transportation is one of the first major modes of transportation, intercontinental transportation in the world. So it's like super fascinating, and my husband thinks I'm crazy because I keep looking at him with like a big heart eyes emoji, because I'm like, I can't wait to take a train all the way across the United States to the Pacific Northwest. And he's like, I don't know who you're doing that with, but it's not me. And I'm like, Morgan, I'll go with me.
I will.
Because I just want to stare out a window and watch the scenery change. And like, I just think it's amazing.
Well, and also side note, for anyone who's been following us too, and Erin and I were talking about this the other day while I was grocery shopping, we're so different that it works so well. Like, it's such a compliment. I have no idea what we're doing. I just jump all in and I'm doing it. Like, I'll sign up for things and then send it to Erin, and Erin will be like, what did you sign up for? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, well, didn't you like watch the video? I'm like, no, but maybe you could watch the video and you could tell me what I signed up for, and you could, so it's just, and Erin.
And then I'm like, fine, I'll sign up a week after that though. Don't expect me to do it now. And you won't hear from me either.
Compliment. Yeah, you're going to ghost me. Erin ghosts me when she's anxious, but that's okay. I love you. All right, Erin, tell us.
Or when I'm reading about train signals or something else I'm super involved in.
Fair enough.
So I'm Erin. I am doing this with Morgan. We have known each other for 13 years now, and we've been besties and gone through a lot together, and our paths have been, pretty much parallel the whole time, but have, waxed and waned as we've both gone in different paths. Or had different areas of our life intersect. So I've been a nurse for over 13 years. I'm a full-time working mom and wife. I have a beautiful, energetic, wild little 2-year-old. He's a sweet little human being. Like, he's super awesome. And it's funny, I saw your bracelets on. I've got a bunch of those too. It's his new favorite thing is to put them all on. He's got to put them on both of his wrists and be like, bracelets. And he's got to show everybody. It's so cute. So he's a lot of fun. Got another little one on the way coming in May. And I'm a recovering perfectionist and aspiring good enoughist. So that's a work in progress. I'm a vegetarian. Recently cut out dairy and didn't realize I was having problems from dairy. I wasn't really having physical symptoms from it, but when I cut it out, I just noticed a whole world of difference, not only in my skin, but my energy level, my pooping. So that's been pretty cool, especially with pregnancy. The first pregnancy, I had to take a whole lot of medication to make sure I was regular, and this one haven't had to take anything, so it's pretty awesome. And I have celiac disease, so that's an autoimmune disorder in which you cannot tolerate gluten, which is the protein in wheat, bread, pasta, various products with the gliadin protein in it. So recovering from that, I've healed a lot of the issues in my body with food, and now we are working on sharing all our info, and like Morgan said, Beachbody Coach, sharing our info, sharing our journeys, and having people come along with us. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah, well, also, it's really been an interesting journey together. It's been really cool. So we already talked about this a little bit in some of the first episodes, but just to watch how we both have really morphed and healed our body and also our mind and just really transformed. And so there's this passion to be able to do that, for tribe, for people. So even if it's like you don't come join us on the Beachbody journey, and you'd come join us on just come join us on the journey of evolution and expansion, and we're going to keep episodes. I healed myself from many autoimmune diseases, all inflammatory, asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and gosh, I always feel like I forget. Oh, sinusitis.
Oh man, you couldn't breathe at all.
Yeah. And what's really interesting too is, so I ended up getting a background in holistic nutrition because I was really curious about just creating the most optimal experience in my body. And what is cool now is Spirit guides me intuitively with people about what things they may be able to take out of their diet that would be game changers. And I call it your spirit team. So, cause I don't know what else to call it, but Erin's spirit team wouldn't shut up about telling me the message like over and over and over again. Please, can you just tell her to cut out dairy? Just tell her to cut out dairy. Just tell, you know what I mean? And I was like, your team won't shut up. So how about now, so we have a very toxic relationship, so I wouldn't necessarily say that to everyone, but and I was just like, she will not stop. And it was like immediate, the skin difference, the stomach difference. And so also wanting you to know that today we're going to be talking a lot more about like the psychology of how to get yourself in the zone, in the state of being, because that's so much about the process as being in the right mental state, the right emotional, the right physical state to really take action to create a life that you love being in, a body you love being in. And it is just knowing that, there are things that you could really be exploring also in terms of like nutrition wise, which I'm sure at some point we'll be talking about that as well in the episode. So stay tuned. I'm going to write that down. And when I say nutrition, I mean more like nourishment, because for everyone it's different. And so like in the nutrition world, it's like what one person absolutely positively swears by, another person doesn't, it's because all of our bodies are different. So I wouldn't tell everyone, Spirit will not tell everyone not to have dairy. It's just with Erin, it was like loud and clear, and it was so cool to see the changes and transitions. So I'm excited. Okay, so we are going to talk about high vibe avatars, kind of like my high vibe energy that I'm like trying to slow myself down, but I get excited and I have a hard time. And one of the things that we had talked about in creating as far as like high vibe avatars is, I feel like same thing as in nutrition is I'm going to share with you some of the examples of the high vibe avatars and how they show up for me. And Erin will give some examples for high vibe avatars and how they show up for her. What I would like to prime you as you're listening for thinking about in ideas like, okay, that's interesting. I might have that a variation of that. Okay, this feels kind of right over here, or like, nope, that doesn't resonate with me at all. Or there may be some versions of our avatars or, different, identities and characters that we get to play on, put on and play in life. And just know that some of them you may hear and say, I would love, I don't have any access to that version of an avatar, but I would love to put that version on. Right? So just knowing that as you hear it, if you're inspired by one and you're like, ooh, I'd like to try that one on, feel free to like borrow our interpretations of avatars and make them your own. Cause it's just all about playing. It's giving yourself permission. I talk about this a lot in the book, but giving yourself permission to just play with different versions of you so you get to figure out which one you love the most. And as an example, so I'll start off with one of my avatars. And this is the avatar that like, I didn't even think about her until just now. So it's interesting. Sometimes like we'll be inspired by something and go, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that version. I have a Florida girl avatar, and she's my favorite version of me that I get to be, which makes sense why I like had to get down to Florida, right? I was in Chicago, born and raised, in the burbs. And there was something about how I show up, who I show up as down here in Florida. It's very different, right? Like she's a sun goddess, and she really, she wears dresses, and she loves being outside, and she's always about nature, and she really makes sure to like connect with, my little doggy. And I feel like she's even better at staying connected. Ironically, she's even better at, better staying connected with you even than Chicago girl, right? It's how that happens when I'm physically there. It's like we've had more bonding time and connection time in the couple weeks they've been gone. So right. It's pretty cool. She's more intentional. She's more purposeful. She's more conscious. I always had this much energy, but she's like bursting at the seams with excitement. I just got, she's really excited about this. I just got my license plate, and I'm just like, it's like, oh man, like pinch me, holy crap. But yeah, just knowing that like, the Sunshine State, and I got like so excited because I'm such a sun goddess. And so, and Florida girl loves working out. And the reason that she loves working out is because she wants to be in a swimsuit 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, Florida girl, you could put her in a swimsuit. She wants to be on boats. And like Florida girl loves luxury. So some of my avatars, I experience shame when I'm experiencing those avatars. Because they don't like luxury, or they have stories about luxury. Florida girl doesn't have that problem. Florida girl's like, no, buy the Mercedes convertible.
Yeah. Florida girl, when we used to go to Florida, I mean, she would come out the minute we'd get off the plane. It wouldn't matter what time that flight was at. We'd all be in like snowsuits because it'd be cold in Chicago, and we get off the plane. And Florida girl would be like, get the white Jeep, get it now. And we'd have to run over and get it. We're like, for a rental car.
The gas mileage was awful, but Florida girl didn't care.
She needed that Jeep.
She needed
the Barbie Jeep.
That's exactly right. She was like, oh my God, guys, but it's like we're surfer girls and we're in a white Jeep, so just shut up in the car. Yeah, exactly. Or like, I got down here one time and they said to me, I was renting a car, and they said to me, like, I'm sorry, ma'am, all we have left are convertibles. And I was like, and then I got to experience a convertible, and once you upgrade, you can't go back. So I bought a convertible down here. She also like she's just like I'm naturally a joy factory, and yet Florida girl just takes it to a whole new level. And so the thing is that we have different versions of us that when we consciously choose to put them in the game, they will yield different results. So if I want to go on a date, let's just say, I'm back on the market. All right. So if I want to go on a date, Florida girl is an awesome girl to go on a date with. I'm not going to bring Comfy Slob. I'm going to leave Victima at home. The perfectionista will actually probably try to come in to the date into my head while I'm there, but it's like consciously being Florida girl. And if I'm going to work out, Florida girl is someone who, she may not be the girl who will be doing the workout, but she'll be a good one to talk you into doing the workout. She totally is on board for working out because she likes to look good and she likes to feel good.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense. I don't have I mean, it's not obviously Florida girl. Like, I love warm weather. There's no denying that. But like, I was so sad this year for summer to end. And I just like needed to be in a bathing suit 24/7. And I remember like lamenting about it to somebody, and they're like, well, it's because you look so damn good in a bathing suit. And I was like, yeah, I know, but like, there's like something other than that too, but it's true. Like, so I don't know if maybe that was some sort of avatar, like which one it was, I'm not sure, but for sure it was like, work out, be in a bathing suit. Yeah. High protein, low carb.
Yes.
And it's so funny.
That's the thing. And what I love is that you're just giving us the like raw in the moment interpretation, because this is really common where we experience ourselves being something we love to be. And we are like, ooh, this feels good, but we don't consciously capture it so that we can leverage it and recreate it. That's why avatars are so cool. You're like, man, if I could name that version of me, what might it be? And then you get to go, okay, what would that version wear? Like Florida girl, like I said, she really swimsuit. Like she wants me in a swimsuit. And actually I keep hearing like, put her on a boat. Like just put her on a boat. Like,
I mean, if like you gotta go anywhere, like I just see her just like wrapping a sarong around her waist and being like, okay, I'm decent. Let's go to the store.
I have these like really cool Victoria's Secret wraps that are just like basically like the whole back's cut out. It's kind of a joke of a dress. And when I say by joke, I mean it's like a small piece of fabric kind of half-ass covering. You know what I mean? Like, but it goes all, they're really cute. I mean, they go all the way down, you know, so they're long, but it's just like, it doesn't really cover anything. And yeah, that's all she ever wants to throw on. She's like, yeah, no, this is good, you know? And like, when it's so funny because here in Florida, things are so different than like when a delivery guy comes, she answers the door in her swimsuit. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so here's the thing. I like to think about also, how does this impact universally? So like, what are the ways that I could help people? This is my brain's always thinking, how do I use this in servitude to help people figure out what it is that they actually, how they could recreate their own version of Florida girl, but it's not Florida girl. So let me give you an example. Thinking about the places in your life that you like, the place like when you think of heaven on earth, where are you? So to me, Florida's my heaven on earth. Like, what is the perfect weather? What is the place? You know, for some people, they vacation someplace multiple times a year. So maybe that's a place for you, right? So it's like a place, or just thinking about, for Florida girl, it's the essence. Everyone has a version of themselves that if you really think about it, you love being. There are certain people that you love being you around. There's certain places you most love being you. And starting to really think consciously about that so that you can really create that person and leverage it. What about you? Hit us with the high vibe avatar.
Ooh, so it's interesting. Okay, so while we're talking about this, and this has been like going around in my head for a while, but I feel like I'm really honing in on it right now, is basically when it comes down, I feel like, to differentiating between your high vibe avatars, or those, you know, thought groups or whatever we were talking about, how it's like those are the thoughts that are predominating in your head, versus the low vibe avatars. Like for me, the way I sort them out, or what I can now see, is like the low vibe avatars, I feel like, are the opinions and voices and input of like those around you. So from raising a child, from listening to other people, you know, other like Sharon Lecter, she wrote Women Think and Grow Rich for Women. You know, and it was just talking about how culture in general has gotten to a place in the United States where like we raise children, we don't like basically raise adults. So like we basically tell them what to do for 18 years and don't give them a whole lot of autonomy or the ability to make decisions and experience natural consequences. So then when they go out into the world, they're unprepared. And then that makes sense if you go out into the world after you've listened to the input of everybody else for almost 2 decades, and probably still even 2 decades, because, you know, it's not like we're not baby birds. You don't get kicked out of the nest and then never hear from your parents again. So it makes sense why your low vibe avatars may be dominating, or you don't know how to recognize or differentiate, and that they're running the show, and then that ends up being the voice of everybody else. And that's what I keep seeing or like repeatedly feeling with the low vibe avatars. The high vibe avatars are like, you know, in a respectful way, like no fucks given. Mm-hmm. Like it's all you. It's just you. It's like you know, your book, Unapologetic, like it's literally just you. So it's like, you know, I went to go see Blade Runner 2049 with my husband on Saturday night. I love the original. It's a book by Philip K. Dick called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which most people are like, ugh, like they don't want to hear anything about it. It's all sci-fi. I loved the book. I loved the original movie in 1982. I love Blade Runner. You know, I loved the movie and going to see it. And it's funny because like you'll tell people, yeah, I went to go see that movie, and it's not their thing. It's like, oh, eye roll, like you're such a nerd. You know what I mean? And if you're functioning in a low vibe avatar, you're like, you know, you're kind of shrinking away and hiding from that, and whatever it is you love, because it might not be something scientific, or it might not be sci-fi, or it might not be fantasy or whatever. And so you kind of shrink away. And you actually see that with a lot of the like gamers and like people who are into like cosplay and fantasy, and gaming, whether it's computer or, you know, or PC, whether it's like PC or console, like, and that's why they kind of all go in their own little group, because they feel very, you know, isolated from everyone else who's kind of like doesn't understand them, is like, ugh, whatever, you know. So it's funny, but when you're like in your high vibe avatar, whatever that may be, so maybe for me it's like, you know, I don't know what I'd call her, like sci-fi lover, science lover, something, you know, like I love space, like I love all these things. I'm totally fascinated by the universe, like in so many different ways. I grew up wanting to be an astronaut so badly. I was obsessed with the movie Apollo 13, but like that girl doesn't give a fuck what anyone else thinks about her interests in anything else. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. So I feel like when I think of my high vibe avatars, for me personally, I have been picking out, or like almost like flashing back to points in time when I was younger, like before I let all those voices, or like, you know, I let the Perfectionista take over and dominate, or, you know, Victima or whomever. It's like the girl who in 5th grade signed up for the talent show to do a comedy act by herself. And then the girl who in 7th grade signed up to sing a solo just because she loved to sing. And I mean, you and I've gone out. I love to sing karaoke. Am I the best? No, I can carry a tune. Probably gets better as I drink. But like, you know, I didn't care. But it's what's funny is that like that's the high vibe. That was like the high vibe 12-year-old, like raising her hand and being like, I'll sing a solo in the thing, and just doing it and not thinking about it. You know, so I don't know, stuff like that. And then like I would do a lot more of that in high school. So I feel like for me, that's one of them, where it's just like really embracing and giving myself permission to really be fascinated and enjoy whatever it is I want to be fascinated and enjoy. And if that happens to be train signals one day and it happens to be something else the other day, like, you know, that so be it.
Yeah. And it's really beautiful, right? Because when we say low vibe, it's just you're on a lower vibration. And when you're on a lower vibration, so I love that you brought this up, Erin, because you're operating from more of the reptilian mind, and you're in more of survival and safety mode. Which also it's the reptilian mind is the undeveloped mind. It's also, think about, trying to have a conversation with, so my nephew who's 5, right? And I try to have adult conversations with him, and sometimes he can, and sometimes he can't. Sometimes he blows my mind, and I'm like, good question. I don't know how to answer that. And it's like so much profoundness in the simplicity of some of his wisdom. Other times I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, obviously I'm joking, right? But it's just like, that's what you're interpreting, and I'm watching. And so let me take that back, because it's not what the hell is wrong with you, but it's because it's just that playful way of being like, what? That's what you got out of that? Or like, because in the mind, when it hasn't fully developed, everything is about, they must be doing it, what you are not doing. So like, he's very sensitive, and I hurt his feelings. Probably when I say shit like, what's, I'd never have said to him, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, and so I can say that to you, and we can laugh and play, and yet energetically, if I'm, and so the low vibe avatar is going to be triggered and take things personal. Right? I even have clients who I've worked with who get to a point where if they're constantly experiencing, say like a ton of life stuff happens to them, it's actually really common, and they start getting triggered constantly in their own life, a process of transference happens where, and I can see it, they're experiencing a low vibe avatar, and they're literally from the subconscious mind treating me as if I am one of their parents or one of their siblings, or it all of a sudden becomes this you versus me thing that they're not even conscious of. So with the low vibe avatar, there's not a lot of consciousness. And it's a lot of inner child stuff that's going on. And to your point, it's a lot of like caring way too much about what everything around the world, it's like, what did this person think? And how do I please this person? And this person I think thinks this. We'd like to do a lot of mind reading when we're in low vibrations, a lot of people pleasing, etc. When we are in a high vibe avatar, we are in a state of conscious creation. And what I am offering is, and what Erin and I are offering is an even higher state of conscious creation by labeling it so that your mind starts to get on board. Because sometimes, so this is what I was talking about earlier, the layers of competence. The first one's unconscious incompetence. So you're not, it's like, you're not where you want to be, and you don't even know why. The second layer, which is frustrating, becomes a conscious incompetence. So you're not where you want to be. You know why you're not there, but you keep doing it anyways, which is so still, it's almost like, okay, here are the avatars, I'm, doing whatever, but I don't even know what I'm doing. Now it's like you're aware of avatars, you're going to have access to some high ones and some low ones, but you're still going to notice you're not able to control when the low ones come into play, and it's going to frustrate you because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm being perfectionista right now and I can't even stop it. And it's frustrating.
Right.
So just know that the next layer and level that eventually comes is like a conscious competence. And that's when you start to use high vibe avatars to leverage, to create more consciousness for yourself, to say, okay, how do I get my mind on board with what I actually want to create? So I always say, start with a space and place of intention. So what do you actually want to create? So let's just use, for example, because, the body, let's just use that. If you want to create a different experience in your body, whether it's physically the way that it looks, whether it's, energetically, the amount of energy that you have available. Just put an IV in me and you could get some of my energy, right? But like, it's like figuring out, what is it that you actually want to experience in your body? And then taking a look at which high vibe avatars could you potentially access that you already have access to, or could you create, or could you spend more time getting to know, that would allow you to get your actions in alignment with your desires. So I always start with desire. And then the reason that we don't have the body we want or the life that we want or the relationships we want is because we want something here. Well, usually we don't even know what we want. We talk in I don't knows, which is dangerous because we create whatever we think and say. So if you're focused on what you don't want, you get a lot more of it. So
dude, there was, to speak to that point, I remember like walking, and I told you this story, like in the hospital, and there was a woman, you know, very overweight, using a walker, had oxygen in her nose, and she had a shirt on that said, "Live the life that you imagined." And I almost started crying right then and there because, well, I'm a crier and I feel a lot of feelings. But like, I was like, oh my God, she did not imagine that. And then it like hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, that's the problem. She never imagined anything moving forward. And then the other ton of bricks hit me that was like, you're not imagining anything. So you better get started, because I was totally that person who, when you'd ask me like, what's your 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years or in 10 years? I'd be like, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Here doing this. This is good. You know, because I didn't think about it because I just did it, but probably because I was too afraid to think about it.
Sure.
Or, you know, or like, especially when they're asking in like a work environment, you're like, oh, I don't want to answer the wrong way. Like, what if they, you know, if you really say maybe what you want, which is like, I'm going to get this degree and I'm going to go do this and I'm not going to be working here in 5 years, that they may think differently or treat you differently. Even though that's really what you want. So like you kind of hold back, and then you're practicing that holding back. And then eventually you're not thinking of shit.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing too, is your lower vibration avatars play small, and your high vibration avatars play big. And when you're really small, you're shrinking and you're like not owning your power. And usually your low vibration avatars like to hand away their power. Like they find, they want to blame. When you're blaming, you're not owning your power. So like when someone blames me for something, usually I do that, I laugh. Because I know you're handing me your power, and I have so much power, I don't need yours, so I'm going to hand it back to you. You know, like I'll own what's my half, and I'm going to let you own your half. Got it? Fair enough, you know? And so, so to your point too, is you have to know, that's why you always start with desire. You have to know what you actually want to create. So I'm always sitting with myself. What do I want? So one of the exercises I give in the book I wrote because it was what I was looking for when I awakened to the idea of I wanted more, but I was 35 pounds overweight. I had every autoimmune disease that you could think of. I was single and or dating people that were lying to me and telling me they were like Jean-Claude Van Damme, but I happened to have a best friend who loved Jean-Claude Van Damme. So we cracked that code. I got
that's an episode. That's a webisode for another day.
Meeting sociopaths, because I had low self-esteem, right? I didn't, and I was vibrating at a really, really low vibration, and so I was attracting. And also, I'm a light worker, so when you're a light worker and you're vibrating at a lower state of consciousness, and you're an empath, right? I'm an empath. You open yourself to people that are takers and conners and sociopaths. Okay. Yeah. So it's about making sure that you know, so the exercises in the book, every exercise is about helping you, even if you're already conscious. Like, it's funny because I do a lot of channel writing. So like I read the book myself, because even though I wrote it, it's like I was a conduit of the soul wisdom that came through. So one of the exercises I talk about is like, all day long, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? I'm at a red light. Cool. What do I want? Where do I want to go? Consciously creating what you want. So, because when we don't have the body we want, and we don't have the life we want, it's because somewhere along the line, our actions are not aligned with what we desire. And like that woman, her desire was written on her shirt, plain as day. And yet she did no fucking work, obviously, to do it. It's almost like there's this movie I watched where they were talking about like they were kind of picking at it, but like that the humans don't realize the power of their mind. So they're so busy like manifesting their worries, because they're thinking about, it's like the quote, it's like worrying is like praying for what you
don't want. Yeah.
And then you get it. The other thing is, as an example of this in a tangible form, is I went into, so to give you an example of like how I haphazardly created in like an unconscious state what I didn't want, and then was like, whoa, and then I created what I did want. So I don't know if I already talked about this, but just real briefly, because it's totally relevant here. I didn't talk about this today, but maybe in another episode. But when I went to get the car for the retreat house here in Miami, I definitely was like, I wanted a convertible. I knew that the experience that I wanted to provide for the ladies. So I knew what I wanted. I did not take time to create the experience of getting what I wanted. So I walked in and I had a lot of apprehension and old story that I was carrying from the first car that I bought, and it was an awful experience. And I recreated that.
Oh.
And I walked out pissed and angry and blaming, and then I was like, whoa, hand yourself your power back. Right? So like I still blame, I still experience low vibration, right? Like I just am able to go, I'm curious about that. Like, what was that all about? Right? So then I said, well, what do I want to experience? Well, I want it to be like magical and fun, and I want to feel like a queen as I do this, like and I really want someone who's like as positive, as obnoxiously positive and happy as I am. And I want someone who like loves life, And so I walked into the next dealership and said, I need you to give me your most obnoxiously happy, positive salesperson. And immediately it was like, they were excited, and they gave me someone, it was amazing. And like within 4 hours or 3 hours, it was like, I was in, I had test drove, I got the car I wanted, I was financed, like all of that, right? Everything was taken care of. And so, so it's knowing like when I consciously tapped into the high vibration avatar of my obnoxiously happy being, or like my joy factory. I'm a joy factory. Like that's an avatar I can work with. Like, okay, I'm a joy factory. I am emitting joy. Like my joy factory avatar is like the permagrin, like sparkle in her eyes, and
yeah.
and
I would call that my Disney princess.
Yeah.
Where I'm like,
I could totally see you. Yeah. You got a lot. Yeah. You see, like I could even see as you talk about her, your eyes get bigger and you're like,
oh yeah. No, that girl is like, everything's amazing, like all the time. And like, she's been out lately, which is awesome. Cause it's like, I can tell like, that's where I'm like walking around the streets. Cause I've been taking the train into this conference downtown where I'm like smiling at everyone. And like, people are looking at me and they're like, hey, I'm like, hi, and like, totally not even noticing, like, again, not taking things personally, right? So like, there's a lot of homeless individuals who are looking for handouts in the city. And so like, we're walking past these people and I'm like, hey, are you hungry? And I pull out like these bags of popcorn that I have from the conference for this guy. And I hand it to him and he was like, oh, like you could tell he was disappointed because he probably wanted money. And I was like, have a great day. Like kept going, which is hilarious about that though, because then when I got off the blue line, there was another gentleman who appeared to be he wasn't asking for anything, but he appeared to be homeless. So I was like, hey man, are you hungry? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I pulled this big apple out of my bag and he was like he got so excited. He's like, oh my God. He's like, my wife is sleeping back there. She's going to be so excited to get this. So it was just funny. And probably like, I know you believe in the law of attraction, what you're talking about, like thinking about consciously creating or even attracting things to you. It's like, okay, first homeless guy, not so excited about what I gave him. But I still was like, I helped you out, whether you wanted it or not. You said you were hungry, here you go. And then the next guy was like grateful for what I gave him, which then made me feel even better. And like, even if he didn't, I didn't take it personally. So like Disney princess is just like birds are landing on her fucking finger when she's walking to the train, everything's wonderful. It's just like, yeah, she's good. She's one of my faves. She was out a lot in high school.
Do you see how, because I know that I could feel when we started talking about this that you were like, I'm not really sure which avatars, but the more we start talking about, oh yeah, that one. And do you see Aaron light the fuck up like a Christmas tree when we consciously capture an avatar that now is going to be more anchored in because you're talking about it and you experience it and you're like, oh yeah, right? And so it's not like it's new to you because you were already being her. It's just like, oh yeah, that's who she is. And
she's here.
Things personal. Yeah.
Right.
She gives from, the Joy Factory has endless joy. It's a bottomless pit of love and joy. So like, we're like, keep giving it, And the thing is it's also knowing, consciously deciding which avatar to bring where and making sure it's appropriate. Because as an example, if you're at a funeral,
Disney princess might want to stay home. Right. Yeah.
Right? Like maybe we don't pack Disney princess. Maybe we pack, like it could still be another high vibe avatar for sure. That's like loving and kind, but maybe she's like the mama who's like,
right. Like the wise sage or
do you feel her? I feel her. I feel the one you're channeling, right? It's like,
no, she's for sure. Oh
right?
Yeah. I love her.
And she's unconditional love.
Oh yeah.
Right? I can see some light bulbs of like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, she, you know what? So she's one that like I see in other women. I mean, I definitely see Disney princess in other women, but like I see her the sage wise woman. Like I see her in other women, and I've always been like drawn to that. And I didn't really know why until like today we started thinking about it and everything and like articulating it, where it's like, oh, like I'm thinking like the woman who's like, I got one on the end of my block, raised 5 kids, really truly let them all be who they were going to be, like didn't intervene too much, like listened, gave counsel when they needed counsel, didn't, micromanage their lives. And, they all kind of went on their paths and like, they're all well-adjusted adults now. And like, I remember always looking at her just being like, dude, how do you do that? Because what's amazing about that, I think, especially as a mom, is like not, and I mean, I do this, like, not only not doing this to my kid, but like, I'm the oldest child. I am pretty intelligent, and so I've often, and in a lot of roles like in my life, have been put in a leadership position. So when people look to me, it's like I'm going to speak to something. So then you just become used to speaking to things all the time, and sometimes it's speaking for people when that shouldn't be the case. So it's like interesting to watch her. I've always been drawn to that one, and I've seen it in other women where it's just like they just kind of let things happen and they're there if you need them, but they're not overbearing, and there's something about that. And I think really what it was, I saw this Maya Angelou quote today that I was like losing my shit over at the conference. Oh, so good. And I feel like this really encompasses that. You tell me what you think of it, but it's seek patience and passion in equal amounts. Patience alone will not build the temple. Passion alone will destroy its walls.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like, and that's what it is. I feel like the sage, like that kind of avatar is just the like, it's like the even keeled, like constant, consistent, like pillar of strength, but also gentle. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, balance between creating and being, it's so interesting if it's just passion, right? Like passion can actually be if it was just, think of a relationship that's just on passion, right? There's some foundation in the patience and or the being. And so it's the ebb and flow. You bring up 2 really good points here to put some linguistic frameworks around what you're saying and to give you even some anchoring and consciousness into what you're unraveling, because I think this is really beautiful. And thank you, because you're always very generous with unraveling out loud. So or unwrapping, the nuggets of love out loud so that other people get to go through the same thing. One thing is the layer of competence that I did not mention, which you're bringing to surface, is unconscious competence. So sometimes we're actually really good at something, but we haven't consciously figured out how or why. So like when I started my members site, my members community, I had to reverse engineer a lot of stuff because I was very competent in so many things, but I needed to figure out how do I help guide other people through into this competence for themselves. And so what's really beautiful about what you're saying is I watched you when I said soul mama and like the funeral, I watched you go into your own version of soul mama, the wise lady. So like you have her and I know you, so I know that you leverage her. And yet you don't consciously realize how often you do it, how easy you do it, and how powerful you are. So, and also there's something here around, I'm just hearing to share with everyone because it feels really relevant, leveraging what you might actually be thinking is comparing or jealousy. When I experienced those, this was a game changer for me. I started to go, well, what is it about that person that I'd like to be more of? Because they're clues. Like emotions can be clues to us. Like to me, when I experience guilt, it's usually in partnership with hope. And me hoping things were different. Or else I wouldn't feel guilty about it because it would, you know what I mean? And so when I experience something where I'm seeing in others, and you gave us a good example of like, you know, you see in this woman and it's like, cool. So how might you be able to cultivate that in yourself? Right. You know, and give yourself permission to be it even more. So I think that's this really beautiful thing that you're unwrapping. I want to make sure people have, do you have a point to that? Or something to add to that before I
was just going to say, you know, one of the most powerful things, and I think that's helped bring it to life even more in the last few weeks, is that you had said, one of the most powerful things you had said to me a few weeks ago was something along the lines, and correct me if I mess it up or jump in, but it was we were talking about how, like, especially in culture and society right now, like there's that, like, if you're not with us, you're against us, and like all of these absolutes, like you're on one side of the fence or anything. And, you know, you have to agree and disagree with everything. Like you've got to take a stand. And you had made some sort of statement along the lines of, you know, sometimes it's just about listening and understanding the point and not actually having an opinion on it. But that's very counterculture because it's like, you must have some sort of thoughts on everything. And when you said that, I was like, huh. And then I started just like listening and not forming opinions on it, or starting to practice not forming opinions on it. Because I would immediately, it's like your brain wants to go, do I agree with that or disagree? Let me file all the facts that I have and the evidence in my head. Agree, disagree, like you got to pick one. And I would catch that and like stop it. And it's actually one of the most freeing thing you can ever do. Like, I'm just like, I feel like I have like more energy in my brain.
Yeah.
Just from not doing that. I'm like, oh my God, you know, but then it's funny because like if someone's listening to you, or like, you know, my husband be talking to me about something and he's like, well, and I'm like, I don't really have an opinion on it, you know? And it's like, what do you mean you don't have an opinion on it? And like, that's kind of that's the response you get from people, but it's kind of awesome. It's just awesome to just be like, sorry, but not really.
You're also just like, you know, people always ask me, how do you remember stuff? You know, you and I could be talking about something. Well, you remember stuff because you're also like the Rain Man. But I remember, like, someone asked me, an entrepreneur I was working with the other day. They asked me, like, do you take like diligent notes and then you go back to the notes before a session? And I'm like, listen, I'm fully present. So I'm listening. I'm like legit listening. I'm not, like, to your point, I'm not listening to you so that I can agree or disagree or share an opinion or an opinion.
Right.
You know, I'm listening. And so I love that your husband's like, well, and you know, something that's also interesting is, I shared this with you, but it feels relevant to people listening, is you know, a lot of times because people are so used to listening to counter or agree or, you know, which isn't really listening. No. What happens is that when you're legitimately listening and you're quiet, you actually, and you're not interrupting and you're not, you know what I mean? It's like you give someone the opportunity, especially the way a masculine energy processes, you give them an opportunity to like go deeper into their own self reflection and actually share with you some truths, which you can learn a lot from someone if you legitimately just listen. Like, okay, they don't like something that you like. It doesn't, what if that doesn't mean any, like, what if that doesn't have to mean anything? What if you just listen?
Yes. That's the thing. It like blows me. It's like breaks people's brain to think like you just don't have to think anything about it. Yeah. And that's it. But I think that really ties in, and the reason I bring that up is because we've talked about that. I have a tendency to be overly masculine with my energy. And so I think what it's like for the wise, you know, sage woman or the soul mama or whatever, it's like just not having an opinion on that, I feel like really opens that up and like strengthens it because, right, I'm just like, oh, okay. And then that's amazing because I can do that with my husband. I can do that with my son when he is going to eventually tell me, hopefully, and, you know, that he'll be open with me about whatever he thinks because I won't always have an opinion out of my squawk box to tell him right away what's right or wrong. And then hopefully when he's an adult, he'll be able to listen to his own voice and intuition a lot sooner and stronger than maybe I was able to, you know?
Yeah, you bring up a really good point about, you know, there are avatars that allow us to access our divine feminine and or our masculine, and we all have both, and it's about consciously leveraging. So like my soul mama or any of my I have a lot of goddess avatars, my sun goddess, or, you know, it's knowing that those are all for me going to tap into my divine feminine. But then I've got my powerhouse boss babe, and she's got a lot of masculine consciousness. And when I say consciousness, I mean like she leverages the masculine to get shit done. And also she's got some feminine energy, but at the same time, like she's the one who was in the corporate world for 8 years and like almost killed me.
Right. Right. Yeah. She's running the show too long.
Yeah. And so when you're, so again, it's about consciously leveraging these. It's also, so I'm realizing this as I'm saying this out loud. That's why talking about it is so cool. Is a piece of why Spicy McChicken came up today is that I've been unconsciously in my masculine. Powerhouse boss babe, get it done. I'm leaving, you know, on Saturday, I think, to Saturday or Sunday, I'm leaving to go to Jamaica to host a retreat. So I'm like, get it done, get it done, get it done. And I'm like doing all this stuff, you know? So it's about consciously leveraging the higher vibration avatars, consciously leveraging even the lower ones. Like I said, sometimes you throw Comfy Slob into the game and say, you know, be on the couch, you know, or like.
Comfy Slob went to go see Blade Runner 2049 with my husband. Because we were on a time limit and I was like, let's go, girl.
Yeah, it's giving yourself permission to do it without judging yourself and allowing, again, neither of them are good or bad, right? It's like, what do you want to experience and who do you put in the game? So I want to make sure that we touch base and put this into, give some other avatars in relationship to working out as an example, because I asked myself this question, like, because I notice a lot of the clients I work with one-on-one, when it's anything, whether it's an entrepreneur who's got like big dreams, it's like, or, you know, today I was talking to someone about like the weight they wanted to lose. But when I look at what they're experiencing, it's like, okay, so you could either fight your low vibration avatars and push, right? Or you could find the ones that are naturally going to push with more love and adoration of self, because they're like, the intention of the push is because they actually also want to go where you want to go. So working out as an example, and also knowing that some days different versions of you are going to want to do different things. So I'll give you a tangible example. I have a ninja avatar that loves the Core de Force workout program on Beachbody.
Yeah.
So much like my ninja avatar was walking around town in Chicago, like, yeah, I dare someone to come mess with me. I'll jack them up. And then a woman came up to me and asked me a question. I answered it, and she asked for a hug. And I was like, this is not the ninja, you know what I mean? Like, so I ended up still being a joy factory, even as I was trying to kick people down. I have a hug thank you for helping me. And I was like, damn it. So I have a ninja avatar that when she's present, that program is going to be the best one every single time. It's also fun, it's like kicks and all sorts of moves. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. I also have my so I call her the Glogi, my glamorous yogi. It's who I am embodied right now. I've got these like super fun, pattern leggings on. Everything's always, like I've got like a cool sports bra, but I also still like my spiritual stones. For some reason, my Glogi likes to wear buns, and so I could even be my Glogi in like a really soft dress, but still probably like sports bra or whatever, but like you'll see the bun and she loves yoga. In fact, she's coming out today and she totally needs to go do some yoga after this. I also have like this Latina version of me that you put on. It's why I'm in Miami, but like put on, I love my Latin culture, but like you put on Latin music and like you throw my Latina in the game, give her some dance classes, teach her some moves, go to a place where there's musica, like I'm like, yes. And then I also have a fur mama avatar who she's going to take Izzy, my dog, for runs. She's going to take Izzy for long walks or find a place that we can go for a hike. She likes exploring and experiencing with my doggy. And then I have an adventurer avatar that loves to work out, but likes to be tricked into working out. So like enjoys outdoors or indoor wall climbing or experiencing anything new for the first time, doing anything adventurous. So it's knowing that two things. One is I can call upon those to actually help set me up for success to actually work out. If I want to work out, cool. Which one do you want to call on? Where I've gotten myself into trouble is when I've tried calling on the ninja, but the Glogi's present and I've ignored it.
Oh yeah.
So like today, everything inside of me wanted to do the Core de Force because I'm like masculine ninja, Yeah. And then, but like when I really am just honest with myself about what my body is asking for and what my soul actually is craving and needs, because it's always with desire. What do you want to experience? What do you need? Right. What are you feeling? She wants to do yoga. And so a piece of that is knowing this can be related to anything in your life. I'm just using working out as an example, but it's like whatever you want to get yourself to do. So whatever the desire is, in order to align your actions with your desires, you can start to consciously leverage avatar selection. And just know that like, if you have 2 avatars that you play with this week, just to get to know a little bit better, like that's progress. And then you put another one next week, or you can even play with 1 a week, or it's just knowing the reason that I have a ton of avatars that I could talk about for a long time is because I've been doing this work for years. And
I think it's helpful to know that it takes practice.
Yeah.
It's it's not, Yeah. And like you're saying, like you've been doing this for years and you wrote a book on it and everything, but they still come out. The other night I was like sleeping and I was kind of tossing and turning, and something had gone on where basically I was accountable for something that I didn't want to be accountable for. So it was like in the middle of the night, I literally felt my Perfectionista and Victima like coming in, like trying to shame and blame. And it was like shame on this side and blame on this side. So it was like Perfectionista and Victima. And I remember literally, because I want to sleep at 2 a.m. I don't want to be dealing with this pit in my stomach or whatever anxiety I was feeling. I remember like laying there and being like, nope, Like, you two are not coming in, go back to the bench. Like, I feel like I remember actually doing that and being like, it ain't happening. Like, that's not what we're doing with this. Like, I'm part of the problem. The power in that is being part of this is then you can create the solution.
Okay.
Which makes me excited now, just at that particular time with that issue was not. But yeah, it's practice. It's a lot of practice. And then, like, for me, you know, trying to like get my intention or like getting somewhere, or like what I felt like started the wheels in motion. We talked about like law of attraction stuff before, is like sitting down and writing out whatever it is you want or whatever feeling you want to feel or the state of mind you want to be in, writing a statement on a piece of paper. Like Chris Downing says, I am is the most powerful sentence in the universe, because whatever you put after that, you're going to attract. So what's going to be after I am? Is it, you know, I'm a piece of shit? I hear that come out of people's mouths. Is it, I am so lazy? You know, is it, I am worthy? Is it, I am enough? Is it, I am, you know, a badass? I'm whatever. But, and this reminds me, I need to do this with a couple other things. I need to get my I ams in order. But like, I remember sitting down with a piece of paper and a pen and writing, I am enough on one side and then the other. And then that was all I did. And I mean, I do remember waking up the next day and just like, not feeling a ton different. It's not like I jumped out of bed and was like, da, 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 but I was like, I felt different, you know? And I feel like that's where the wheels started to get in motion. And I feel like you got to do that as much as you can, because then that helps you bring back the feeling that is associated, like the feeling state associated with whatever it is you want to feel.
Yeah.
And writing it down, like you said, it's powerful. Like, I wrote my goals and then I hid it somewhere, and you were like, oh, it's good. You should write them down and then hide them. Don't put them out in the open.
That's the other thing too, is leveraging humor and finding people to share the journey with. I think that's why both of us thought it would be so much fun to just do it's like I have this wildly successful business that I'm running, and yet I'm doing the Beachbody coaching thing because it's like, it's community. It's totally aligned with, it's fun, it's community. I get to share the tribe. I get to laugh at myself, and at my expense, other people can learn. I'm constantly, Aaron and I both in our challenge groups, it's like, we'll like, you know, share what is going on in our minds so that you can see you're not alone, you know, in the process. And so, it's about consciously deciding what you want. It's also knowing, you know, don't be upset about the results you didn't get from the work that you didn't do. And you know, it's making sure that there's like a checklist, you know, in the challenge groups as an example. And again, this is with anything in life. It's like, what's your goal? It's the first question on the checklist. Like, what's your goal? You know, so if it's a business, a project, a relationship, you know, okay, what do you want? What are you trying to create?
Yeah.
Great. Give me something tangible. How will you know when you've gotten there? Where are you right now? Like, you start to look at metrics, measurement, somewhat picture, you know, visual, you know, what can you, you know, so with weight, you could do a scale, you could do the number of push-ups, you could do, I mean, ways to track and measure. Are you doing that in other areas of your life? You know, and then afterwards, writing it down and looking, and along the journey, are you capturing, okay, now it's a weekend, checking in, how far along are you in the process? And I think that, again, it's like, even though we talk as examples of body a lot, it's like that can apply to anything. You need to know your goal. You need to know where you are. You need to know where you want to be. You need to know what the gap is. You need to know what the metrics are that you're going to track to ensure that you could say, I am on my path, or I'm diverted a little bit and I need to get back on my path. Right. And it's also, I remember when, like when I first started doing the core to force stuff and was just a participant, and it was like, I was doing that in tandem with some training to climb a mountain. And I remember, doing, like, I was, you know, cause when you commit, like, you start doing way more, like, it's almost like you're like, okay, I'm on board. And then it's like, okay, I did the core to force workout and now I'm going to go for a run. And also later I'm going to do yoga, and you end up doing all of that in one day, when before it was like, I don't have time. And you're like, all of a sudden your whole identity shifts. But I remember when I started being able to do, you know, like I couldn't do one push-up, and then I could do one, and then I could do two. And I remember like sending you videos, or like I would send you videos of headstand, or, you know, so it becomes fun when you're tracking it. The same thing with life as well. I watch almost every client I've ever worked with achieve a lot of success, and not even consciously realize that they're doing it, because you're raising the bar constantly and you're not going, oh, I did this and I did this and I did this. I had a gentleman who became a really good friend of mine that I met at a conference. My face is like this because it's like, what the hell? But he was like, yeah, you know, I need to get better at celebrating. And I, you know, and we were in a group setting, and the leader of the group said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, you know, like when everyone else celebrates, or when everyone else does something, I celebrate them. But for me, when I hit small, I think I told you this before, but you know, when I hit small things, I don't really celebrate them. And the leader of the group said, well, like what? And the guy was like, well, like when I got picked up for the major leagues, you know, when I got that small win, I didn't celebrate it. And I'm like, you know, and then he goes, yeah. And then, and then I got injured, and then I got picked up by the Milwaukee Brewers to be their strength trainer. And I didn't really celebrate that small win. And then I got picked up by the New York Yankees to be their strength trainer, and I didn't celebrate their small win. And I was like, I couldn't shut my mouth. I was like, oh my God, can someone please address that these are not small wins? Like, please stop. You know, and so what happens is that, you know, we minimize often, or don't even pay attention to the things we're achieving, because we're like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. But your there always moves, because you're always raising your bar. So just knowing.
Or your low vibe avatars are coming in and telling you, like, don't be arrogant. Don't be, like there's some sort of stupid message that's coming in, and it's like, or it's like, oh, you need a pat on the back for that. Like, it's some shitty message. Sometimes too that are causing you to write, because then in your head are like, you've been taught or hardwired to be like, oh, I'm being humble. And it's like, it's cool if you're proud of yourself. That's a perfect example, actually, because like when I started working out and everything like that, I forgot what I was doing. I was walking around. I don't remember. I know I told you about this, but whether I was in a bathing suit, and it was just like in my house. And I was so proud of myself. Like, you know, like I was feeling fit. I was like looking good. I was super excited because that dairy dropped like 3 inches off my hips. You know, and I was just like telling my husband, like I was trying to celebrate where I had been in over 3 months and being like, hey, I've been exercising for 3 months. Like, I feel so good. I'm walking upright. Like, I look great in this bathing suit. And he was like, don't you think you're being a little arrogant? You're a little over self-confident, aren't you? And he really didn't understand why. He was trying to tell me that I was being conceited. And I kept saying to him, I'm like, do not misconstrue conceit and arrogance, which is rooted in shame and self-loathing, with body confidence. Mm-hmm. This is body confidence. I'm not looking for your approval. I was looking for your celebration with me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But what's funny is that, and you know what, I'm not like, he's not some evil person, but like culture and society has told him along the way, don't get too big. Don't be too big.
Well, that's a beautiful segue to what I feel like we promised on episode 2 would be episode 4. So coming at you for the next episode, stay tuned, is we're going to start talking about society and how the messages of society are playing into that, the two sides of shame, the you're not enough and or the who do you think you are, which is really interesting because we uncovered when we did episode number 1 that really stuck with me is my Comfy Slob is trying to keep me, God bless you.
Thank you.
My comfy slob is trying to keep me from my greatness because it's almost like the amount of judgment that I get from others can be painful when I am as magnificently brilliant as I allow myself to be in my full power. So, oh, bless you.
Thank you.
So,
that was almost a fart with that too.
Yeah. By the way, I took Erin on, I used to win these trips for the corporate world. It's how I knew I wanted to host retreats. That's a story for another day. But, and I got to surprise Erin with taking her on like a dream she had to go swim with dolphins. And we had a dolphin named Tatwani who was like a baby dolphin, and it was a total
so great.
And she cried and peed at the same time because she was so excited. So
I was laughing, crying, and peeing, riding a dolphin.
So just more reasons to love Erin. And then there's like, this is so amazing. And I just,
this is the best day of my life. I'm about to bring that picture out for for one of our sessions.
I think this is great. So maybe you could bring that next time. But so stay tuned for next week or next episode rather. Because I'll be in Jamaica next week, so we'll have to wait on that. But stay tuned because we will be talking about society and how society shapes what we believe about ourselves. And the more that we're conscious of it, the more that we get to go, oh, I choose to keep that, or I choose to let that go. And consciousness is made, like our whole journey together is about increasing your state of consciousness so that you could increase your ability to really own your power and create a life you love living and in a body you love being in. That's all for today, folks, unless you got anything else, Erin.
Nope.
Yeah, we're good. We'll make sure Erin gets you a picture of her, excitement with Elvis. And maybe we'll even try to find some pictures of when Erin put hamburgers on me while I was sleeping and sunglasses because I was being a total dick while I was drunk. The reason I don't drink anymore, one of the few times I was apparently mean while I was drinking but didn't remember. So again, just kind of showing all the different variations of our avatars and stuff like that. But we will catch you guys on the flip side and see you later.
Bye.
Bye. I'm trying to end it. Sorry, hold on. Bye, guys.